everyone, Harris Rubenstein here for Chat Sports. The college football recruiting time of the year is still here. We have not left. We are still a couple days away from the second signing day. Obviously, we had the one in December, and now we have one coming up in a couple days here in February. Now, we have 5 of the top 50 players still remain uncommitted, so there's still some shuffling to go around, but these are the rankings that you will likely see going into the next college football season. So let's start at number 25 with the Ole Miss Rebels. Now, obviously, they have had their own organizational issues with paying off players and the whole issue with Laramie Tunsil, but it seems that Ole Miss has cleaned up their act and have a nice recruiting class coming in this year. 28 total players have been committed to Ole Miss. Only 5 4-star players and 0 5-star guys. A couple players to watch include 4-star running back Jerry Ely and 4-star wide receiver Dennis Jackson. So hopefully Ole Miss can continue to move on with after their just terrible cheating scandal, and maybe we can see a couple clean recruits come in over the next couple of years. Let's talk about Purdue, one of the biggest surprises on the top 25. They committed at number 24, coming off a 6-7 season, which ended up being a big surprise for that team. Nice class coming in of 26 players, including 4 4-stars. One of them is 4-star defensive end George Karlaftis, their top defensive end coming in this year. He should supply a decent amount of pass rush in the Big Ten. I'm excited to see what Purdue's going to do the next couple of years. They really have a nice groundwork laid for a successful program over the next couple of years. Let's go to number 23, Joe Moorhead's Mississippi State Bulldogs, the head coach for Mississippi State. And a nice first year down there in Mississippi, going 8-5, ending up 4th in the SEC West. 1 5-star guy this year for Mississippi State, but 2 4-star guys at defensive tackle Nathan Pickering and 4-star offensive tackle Charles Cross are 2 guys that they are going to try to build around on that offensive and defensive line. Nice class of 20 total players, so another nice recruiting unit for Mississippi State this year. Let's travel to Arkansas, Bill Clinton's home state, with a nice recruiting class of 26 total players. 10 4-star guys, including Hunter Henry, yes, current NFL tight end Hunter Henry's brother, Hudson Henry, the current tight end they have coming in the top tight end in this year's class, staying in his home state of Arkansas. Now, they've been jumping around based off the different recruiting rankings that you look at. Rivals has them all the way up at number 17, where ESPN has them a little bit closer to 20. So a nice, solid recruiting class for Arkansas that just needs as much talent as they can humanly get over the next couple of seasons as they continue to recover from the awful Brett Bielema era that they had. Let's jump to South Carolina at number 21. Nice 7-6 season for them. Have a big player coming in at 5-star defensive end Zach Pickens, who chose South Carolina over the likes of Clemson and Alabama. A nice class as well. 22 total players committed, along with 4 5-stars and that 5-star Zach Pickens, like I mentioned. A pretty good 21 to 25. South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Purdue, and Ole Miss. About the teams that you would expect down there in the bottom 5 of our top 25. But pretty good classes for those programs. Let's go to number 20. It's a Stanford Cardinal. Look, Stanford's always going to have some issues when it comes to recruiting. Obviously, their academic standards are much higher than most of the other top D1 college football programs, but they still had a very nice class this year, picking up 4-star running back Austin Jones to replace Bryce Love, who's expected to go to the NBA draft this year. Also got a nice defensive end in 4-star defensive end Stephen Herron Jr. So we'll see what happens with the Stanford Cardinal going forward, but with losing Bryce Love to the NFL, Austin Jones should be a nice replacement for Stanford. Let's go to number 19 with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Another nice class for Nebraska. Back-to-back nice classes for Scott Frost. Weren't able to get that top-tier quarterback that they were hoping for, but with 26 players committed and 6 4-star players, hopefully Nebraska can have a better season than they did last year, and when they ended the season with a 4-8 record. Now, Nebraska's been a pretty big disaster over the past couple of years. Rivals loves their recruiting class this year, putting them in the top 15. But I don't know from you guys, will Nebraska finish above 500 next season? I say no. I think they might finish at exactly 500 or at a record of 6-7 like Purdue had this past year. It'd be great to get Nebraska back in a bowl game, but I still think they're one more year away from finishing with a legitimate record. Let's go to number 18 with the Washington Huskies. A little bit lower than what we usually get from Washington, though they have a couple nice players coming in, including 4-star quarterback Dylan Morris, to go along with the 2 4-star quarterbacks they had in last year's recruiting class. So we'll see what Washington can do. They have a lot of turnover on both the offensive and defensive side, with a lot of seniors going out to the NFL this year. But with a 10-4 record last year, I'm sure Chris Petersen will do some pretty wonderful things with this recruiting class. Look, I know football season is just about over, but that 120% deposit bonus that BetDSI is giving you guys, it's still here. It ain't going nowhere. Head to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code Live120 if you guys want to get that 120% deposit bonus. Put some money down in the Super Bowl. We got a great matchup between the Patriots and the Rams. And if you want to make some dough this year with some easy online sports gambling, BetDSI is the best and really only place that you guys should be doing it at this time. Let's go to number 17, probably the biggest disappointment in terms of 2018 seasons on this list. USC finished the year at 5-7. They were just terrible. Did not hit the vast expectations that a lot of people had for them. The new quarterback they had coming in, JT Daniels, really struggled in his freshman year, but he should have a couple of reinforcements coming in, including four-star wide receiver Kyle Ford. Now, the biggest difference with this USC recruiting class is that their only five-star recruit, wide receiver Brew McCoy, has already said he wants to transfer away from the program and possibly to the Texas Longhorns. Now, if you're wondering why a recruit would commit to a school and then ask for a transfer already, it's basically because he thought that Cliff Kingsbury was going to be the offensive coordinator, and once Kingsbury left to go to Arizona, or the Arizona Cardinals, I should say, in the NFL, Brew McCoy said see ya and is now going to transfer away from the program. So definitely a big hit for the USC recruiting class, but still a nice group coming in anyway, ranking number 17 on the composite list, number 19 with ESPN, and number 18 with Rivals. Let's go to number 16. Another team that really disappointed last year, the Florida State Seminoles, who are also looking for a new quarterback. The head coach hasn't really worked out. The offensive line is abysmal, but they will be getting a couple of great players on the defensive side of the ball. Former five-star cornerback who was just put down to a four-star corner, Akeem Dent, and also four-star safety Nick Cross coming into that Florida State defense. They definitely need reinforcements with a lot of talented players heading to the NFL this year, so I wonder how much playing time we could see a lot of those first-year players getting under this Florida State system. So keep an eye out for the Seminoles this year. That class should certainly help them rebound from what was a disastrous first season for Willie Taggart. Let's go to number 15. Props to the Tennessee Volunteers for finally having a relevant recruiting class. One five-star guy this year, five-star offensive tackle Wanya Morris, 10 four-star players coming in with a total class of 21 players. Look, this team needs as much talent as they can. They've had a lot of disappointing seasons over the past couple of years. They weren't able to get the most out of John Kelly, their great running back that they had over the past couple of seasons. He's now in the NFL, so I wonder what Tennessee is going to be able to do next season. They've already found their quarterback, and it seems that they like their head coach as well. So now it is just about pumping as much young talent into this team as they possibly can. Let's talk about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Maybe Brian Kelly's last recruiting class with Notre Dame. So many rumors about him maybe leaving Notre Dame before the season, jump into the NFL. Maybe he'll wait one more season. A lot of options for Brian Kelly with this Notre Dame football team. But for now, a very nice class. 21 players committed, 15 four-star players. They don't really have a feather in their cap this year with a five-star player, but a lot of really solid recruits as usual for Notre Dame. They have a lot of defensive talent heading to the NFL this year, and I think this recruiting class is going to be able to refresh the rest of their team and also put them in a good position to rebound from another terrible college football playoff loss that they had last season. A pretty, I would say, an unlikely participant here at number 13. The Ohio State Buckeyes. I say unlikely, seeing as they've had a top 7 recruiting class every single season over the past 5 years. But hey, you lose a coach like Urban Meyer, you're going to take a little bit of a step back in your recruiting. Both Ryan Day coming in, they were able to hold on to a lot of their elite recruits, including 5-star wide receiver Garrett Wilson and the top center in this year's class, Harry Miller. They have a couple of 5-star guys this year, along with plenty of 4-star players coming in. Basically, this class won't be the superstar class that we've seen Ohio State get in the past, but still a very solid class and will still do a lot of damage in the Big Ten over the next couple of seasons. Let me know in the comment section below, what will Ohio State's record be next season? I would say they end up with another great record. I don't know if they're going to go 13-1. I mean, with Ryan Day coming in, I'm sure there'll be a little bit of an adjustment period, but overall, I would be surprised if they end up making it to the college football playoff again. Or not again next season because they didn't last year, but again because, they keep on doing it. Let's go to number 12, the Auburn Tigers. Pretty disappointing year for Auburn. They started the year as one of the top 10 teams in the country, ended as an 8-5 team, 5th in the SEC West, and just a really disappointing season for Gus Malzahn and Auburn. But a lot of great players coming in, 3 5-star players coming in, including 5-star linebacker Owen Pappoe. He's a really good player. 9 4-star players coming in as well, including the wide receiver George Pickens. A little bit smaller of a class compared to some others with only 18 players committed, but we are sure that Auburn will be able to get the most out of those players as they have for really the entirety of Gus Malzahn's career. Let's go to number 11, the Florida Gators. Dan Mullen with another nice class. No 5-star players, but 15 4-star guys out of their 23 total players committed. A lot of defensive talent coming in. 4-star linebackers Dywin Black and Tyron Hopper should surely do some great things for a Florida defense that, like many other teams in the SEC, are losing a lot of elite defensive talent to the NFL this year. And as you can see from our recruiting ranks, a lot of platforms have Florida at that number 11 spot for recruiting classes. They don't get in the top 10 because they just don't have the elite level talent that a lot of the teams in the top 10 do, but surely a nice unit for the Florida team this year. Dan Mullen done another great job trying to get Florida back to the top of the SEC. Let's go into the top 10 now and go into Penn State. Obviously losing their quarterback Trace McSorley to the NFL this year, or really to anywhere because we're not even sure if he's going to end up getting drafted. But 5-star linebacker Brandon Smith coming in this year, the feather in the cap for the Penn State program in this recruiting class. They've done a lot of really good recruiting over the past couple of years, and it's really helped vault them into the upper echelon of the Big Ten and also in the Big Ten East. As you can see from our recruiting rankings, everyone has Penn State around the 10 mark, though 24/7 Sports did rank them as the number 5 recruiting class. So a very nice group for Penn State this year. Just really a lot of it's going to determine over who they replace at quarterback with Trace McSorley leaving the program. Let's go to number 9, the Clemson Tigers. They don't have the 6 5-star recruits like they've had in the past couple of years. Only one guy this year in 5-star cornerback Andrew Booth, but coming off the outrageous season that they just had going 15-0, Trevor Lawrence, the superstar freshman quarterback, coming in with a fantastic young offense, returning their number 1 and number 2 wide receivers, and of course, one of my favorite players in all of college football. They're bringing back ETN, baby. One of the best running backs in college football will be returning to Clemson next year. So while they don't have a top 5 recruiting class this year, not too much of a worry. Getting in the top 10 is frankly good enough for a Clemson team that is already stacked. Let's go to number 8, the LSU Tigers. One of the best recruiting schools in the country, a constant in the top 10 every single year. Great 5-star talent coming in this year, including running back John Emery Jr. and Derek Stingley, the 5-star cornerback, the number 1 corner in this year's class. A very good group for LSU this year, losing their number 1 linebacker, Devin White, to the NFL this year. They need another influx of elite talent, and after a great 10-3 season last year, we should see more improvement from LSU this year under head coach Ed Orgeron. Let's go to number 7. The season surely didn't end the way that Michigan hoped, but they certainly had a great run until getting thrashed by Ohio State on the road. But a really nice class for Michigan this year. They were able to reflip 5-star safety Daxton Hill back from Alabama to Michigan, so he will be on campus for the Wolverines next year. I think he'll end up being a day 1 starter. He's one of the best safeties that have come out of high school in a really long time. He's a fantastic player, and as you can see from our recruiting rankings, Michigan, all around, great recruiting class this year, absolutely deserves to be in the top 10. The only real question is whether or not Michigan will be able to beat Ohio State in 2019. That is all that matters for Michigan at this point. If they can have another consistent good year next year with Shea Patterson coming back, and maybe they can finally beat Ohio State now that Urban Meyer is gone, maybe Michigan can end up in the college football playoff next season. Let me know in the comment section below, will Michigan beat Ohio State in 2019? Type M for yes, or type O for no. Let's go to number 6, the Oregon Ducks, with One of the best recruiting classes that the school has ever had. They did nail down the recruitment of the #2 recruit in the country, Kayvon Thibodeau, the best defensive end that we have in this year's recruiting class. Putting them at number 6 is more of a testament to their lack of elite overall talent. They were able to get the #2 recruit, like I said, but only after that, not too many 4-stars compared to a lot of other teams in the top 10. But if you're able to get the signing of the #2 recruit in the country, being put at number 6 is not too shabby, especially for an Oregon team that has not always been that high up in their recruiting rankings, but it's great to see what they're going to be able to do with another great recruiting class coming in. So that is our 6 through 25. It is now time to get in to the top 5 recruiting classes for 2019, and let's start at Oklahoma at number 5. So with number 5, this Oklahoma team really going to get a nice influx of talent, especially at the wide receiver position. Bringing in 5-star wide receiver Theo Wassey, along with Jadon Hazelwood, the #4 recruit in the country. This Oklahoma team is getting a huge influx of offensive talent. We know that they're losing Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, to the NFL this year. They're also losing Kyler Murray to either the MLB or the NFL, we're not really sure, but in order to replace him, they're bringing in 5-star quarterback Spencer Rattler. Won't end up starting his first year, obviously, because Oklahoma's bringing in Jalen Hurts, but is there really a better quarterback for Spencer Rattler to sit behind for 1 year than Jalen Hurts? A great recruiting class for Lincoln Riley and Oklahoma. Doesn't have a lot of defensive talent in it, which you were really hoping if you were Oklahoma, but hopefully another season with a new defensive coordinator can get the Oklahoma defense back to where it needs to be and get the Sooners back to the college football playoff. Let's go to number 4. The Jimbo Fisher effect has officially been felt. A great season for Texas A&M, 9-4, ending up second in the SEC West, and now topping it off with a top 5 recruiting class. 2 great 5-star players in 5-star defensive tackle DeMarvin Leal and 5-star offensive tackle Kenyon Green. 2 great guys to have on in the trenches for Texas A&M going forward. A great overall class of 25 players and 14 4-star guys. This is another great get for Jimbo Fisher. I'm excited to see how this Texas A&M team continues to grow under Jimbo. Another great recruiting class, and I'm sure in 2020 they are going to be in the top 10, maybe in the top 5 once again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's official. I think Texas is officially back. Another top 5 recruiting class for the Texas Longhorns. 2 5-star guys coming in this year, including Brew McCoy, who is likely to come over from USC. Not sealed in stone yet, but as of right now, that is the speculation around him as he moves to leave the USC Trojans program. But outside of Brew McCoy, a lot of great talent for Texas coming in. They ended up getting the most 4-star players from the state of Texas of any college this season, which is imperative if you're Texas to keep your talent in state. As you can see, every single platform, including us here at Chat Sports, ranks that Texas recruiting class in the top 5. A great get for Tom Herman and a really nice step forward for the Texas program, coming off maybe their best season in, a decade, going 10-4. Great job for the Texas Longhorns as they continue to stabilize their program. Let's go to number 2, the Georgia Bulldogs, a fixture with the top 2 in recruiting over the past couple of years. 5 4-star players coming in this year, including the #1 overall player, Nolan Smith, the defensive end from Bradenton, Florida. Look, it's really between Georgia and Alabama for the #1 spot this year in recruiting. Georgia, for me, definitely gets the #2 spot just because Alabama signed 3 of the top 7 recruits in this year's class. But #2 is nothing to scoff at for Georgia. This is a team that is going to be competitive every single year for years to come under Kirby Smart. They have a great quarterback coming back next year in Jake Fromm, along with a stacked defense. I'm excited to see what Georgia is going to be able to do with adding Nolan Smith, who, by the way, is getting a lot of NFL comps to one Von Miller. So keep an eye out for Nolan Smith as he enters the SEC next year. And last, but certainly not least, It is the Alabama Crimson Tide coming in with the #1 recruiting class of 2019. While they did lose Dax Hill to Michigan, they were able to gain 3 of the top 7 recruits in this year's class: Antonio Alfano, Trey Sanders, and Evan Neal. 3 great players, including the #1 running back in this year's class in Trey Sanders. This is going to be a really fun Alabama recruiting class coming in. They'll get 1, maybe 2 years with Tua before being handed over the entire program. This is a really, really good class for Alabama to rebuild and retool as they stand to lose their entire starting defense between this year and next year to the NFL draft. So with the Alabama definitely needing some depth on the defensive side of the ball, this class is certainly going to help them reload for years to come. Let's go back through our top 25 recruiting classes of 2019. Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma making up the top 5. Oregon, Michigan, LSU, Clemson, and Penn State finishing out the top 10. Into the top 15, Florida, Auburn, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Tennessee. After that, coming in at 15 through 20, or 16 through 20, I should say, Florida State, USC, Washington, Nebraska, and Stanford. And then finally, 21 to 25, we got South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Purdue, and Ole Miss. Keep your eyes out on the Chat Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe as we get closer and closer to the second signing day. There are still 5 top 50 recruits that remain unsigned, so definitely keep an eye out for what we could have on our next recruiting day.